Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast, where we explore financial services together with an eye on technology, innovation, emerging models, and changing expectations. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zach Miller. Early Warning built Zelle into the dominant peer-to-peer payments network in the US, $1 trillion in transactions last year alone. Paze is their next bet, a bank-backed digital wallet for e-commerce checkout backed by the same 7 major banks, designed to bring that same institutional trust to online shopping. Serge Elkiner came on as GM in late 2024, brought over from Visa, where he ran product for money movement globally. His mandate is to unlock what that network can do at checkout, with 165 million eligible cards now in place and distribution deals with Fiserv, Worldpay, and ACI. Today, we talk about what it takes to convert infrastructure into consumer behavior and whether the banks can do for e-commerce what they did for P2P. Serge, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Zach, for having me here. So, Serge Elkiner, very happy to be here. I'm the general manager of Paze, one of the business units of Early Warning Services. I joined the company close to 18 months ago. We're coming on 18 months. The mandate is really to take Paze and bring this new payment checkout system to the masses, both on the consumer side and on the merchant side. So really making sure that our goal of becoming one of the top 3 wallets for checkout in the next 5 years becomes reality, if we can say so. And I certainly believe we definitely have a chance, given like the backing of the banks, and we are the wallets of the banks, right? So, and the issuing side. So we're super excited about what we can do and how we can position it. So very happy to be here and take that challenge on.
So Early Warning obviously was successful with Zelle. I think that you guys are doing over $1 trillion in processing volumes. That was 2024. And it took a while. I mean, I remember having some of the executives on and it was at a time where Venmo, I think, was at its zenith, and it was like, well, when's this going to take off? And like you had the relationships and just took time. And I think that's one of the things that was impressed upon me through that process was like, okay, great. You got the relationships on, you built the network, and then you have to change user behavior over time. What do you think is the unlock for Paze as you guys are, and you have the benefit of kind of building on the banking relationships and the cards, obviously. Where do you see the unlock and some of the challenges and hurdles?
So I think it's a great question, Zach, and we're very excited about where Zelle is today. As you said, we did over $1 trillion in 2024. We did over $1.2 trillion in 2025. So it continues to grow, which is quite impressive. We learned a lot from the Zelle journey, and at Paze, we believe we can replicate that. So what happens is that the ecosystem is shifting, right? You still have today primarily a lot of usage of guest checkout and input of, your debit card, your credit card, or alternative payment methods. And that remains the bulk because even, consumer wallets usage overall, not just e-com, but e-com and in person remains around 9-10% of transaction, depending which source you're looking at. And in e-com, it's a little bit higher than that, right? We're crossing the 20% range and maybe even 25% range. But you still have 75% of the people not using these wallets, right? And so what the research really showed is that some of these people are not specifically trusting the solution that exists today, right? So they have like this distrust of big tech. They definitely have a high trust and a high confidence of security in the banking system and in their banks. And so we believe that having a solution that's really backed by your bank enhance that trust, enhance that security that these protectionists, as we call them as a target market, protectionists and security seekers really see in a product that's brought to them by their banks. And that's why we believe we have a fighting chance to really generate a big market share in the wallet space to cater to that segment first, to provide them that trust and that confidence to shop with Paze. So it's going to take time. We're at the beginning of the journey. There is no hiding from that. I'll tell you even that, we've taken really 2025 to lay the foundation for the product itself, right? So when I came in 2024, being a little bit, uh, humble and transparent here, it's like I found a product that had the right reason to be, but it was not there yet into where it needed to be to really scale big. And so we had to work on the product late 24, all of 25. We had to kind of shift strategy to habituate people to use space, to show up in more places where they use on a daily basis, or at least on a, you know, more than just a few times a years, like we have with Fanatics, which is an amazing partner and merchant for us, or United Airlines. Like you do go on United Airlines, but how many tickets do you buy every year, right? So we want to go into more daily spend. We just, launched Pay Range, which is a laundry service. So you do your laundry quite a bit, right? So it's more habituating people. You've seen recently we announced that Domino's has joined as well. So you do eat a little bit more often than a few times a year a pizza, right? So these things is where we needed to shift both the merchant side of the equation. For that, we needed the product to resonate with the merchant, and we fixed that product layer and where the conversion sits, et cetera, et cetera. And then we needed to reinforce or continue reinforcing the issuing side, which is where we had our strength as the first thing being from the banks. We have access to the consumer side. But as you saw as well recently, we we did add Citibank as one of the participants of the Paze network. So that adds, a lot of consumers to the base we already had of 160 some million credentials. So we're super excited about reinforcing the three pillars: merchant, product, consumer, to really be able to later on this year shift gear and accelerate quite a bit with marketing and things like that.
Thank you for that. And if we could drill down on the consumer, I guess I'd like to start there. You mentioned the protectionist, and what was the other archetype?
Security seeker, we call them.
Okay. Um, so what's the challenge with onboarding those types of folks? These aren't necessarily people using wallets, other wallets, are they?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is like, okay, how do you onboard them is exactly what you said. And so we as I said, we took a parallel from the Zelle book, if you want. And we said, okay, we don't want you to have to download an app. So you don't have to download an app. We want you to kind of claim your wallet through your bank app, right? And that's very important because we really want people to understand that Paze is from your bank. This is not just a different entity. This is not a different company. This is the bank. So if you ask anybody today, like, who owns Zelle, everybody's going to answer to you their own bank.
Their own,
Right?
great.
Some will say Bank of America. Some will say Star One Credit Union. Some will say nobody really knows that it's like early warning services, right? And so we want the same thing with Paze. We want everybody to think, okay, that's it's a feature of my bank account. It's a feature of my credit card. So that's why it's so important for us to go through the bank app. And so you claim your wallet in the bank app. Of course, if you see it on a website and you want to buy something, you can click on it and then you'll be redirected to claim as well. But we want you to understand that. And so those security seeker, those protectionists, they go into the bank app, they see Paze, they register for Paze just by claiming the wallets, like, 2 clicks, and then they're ready to shop. So the next time that they show up, you literally put your email or your phone number. We authenticate you either with a 6-digit PIN or with a passkey if you've already registered the passkey, and then your card show up. You don't have to add the cards. There's no manual entry of anything. Your cards are either there or they're not. And there is no way to add a card today into Paze because we use it as a security feature for at least the foundational piece, which means today your financial institution participate in Paze, therefore your cards are there. And if they don't participate, then unfortunately you can't use Paze. But for security reason, somebody cannot just, add a card randomly to Paze.
Got it. Um, I'm just looking at these folks, and I'm wondering. It's almost like the more of the protectionists that you on board, like you'll get the early adopters that were on other apps. Like it almost seems like it's the reverse onboarding. You get the risk averse folks first, and then once you have a certain amount of critical mass, then you'll get the people that had already adopted other wallets. And I'm curious, is there you mentioned having to fix the product while also building out, the merchant network. That almost feels like you got to work on everything all the time. Like that sounds like a resource issue. Like, what were some of the challenges like in terms of being able to focus on both those things?
So I think Paze is really kind of a startup within that ecosystem,
Mhm.
right? So yes, we're owned by the banks, but at the end of the day, it's still in its startup phase. So as any startup, right? And once more, I built a startup. We successfully sold it to Visa, right? So it was very exciting to go through the journey with the ups and downs of like the startup journey, right? And there is no difference for Paze, right? We have to start somewhere, and then you have to work on all cylinder to get your product market fit, to get the adoption, to get the consumer to adopt it, to get the merchant to adopt it. So yes, we have to work on everything. That's another day in the life of an entrepreneur and another day in the life of a startup, right? And that's what excites me. That's what gets me to come to work every day and be like, okay, what's new today? What are we working on today? And let's make it happen.
And for what I know about early warning, it is always runs as a lean organization. I think
Indeed.
efficient, yeah. And so you sound like the right guy to come in, an entrepreneur who's built a product, sold it to one of the largest companies in the world, and stayed on to run it. Um, I guess what skills did you bring to this job that make you the right GM for this moment in time?
Well, I think everybody brings like, different skill set and things like that. I think for me, what attracted me to this opportunity and what I do believe I bring is, of course, the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Where you don't give up, you just fight through, right? The resilience of an entrepreneur is something very unique, right? So I think that you have a good day.
Not necessarily a financial services, mindset necessarily.
No, it's a different mindset just because financial services, they're usually established, there is less risk, things like that. But here, it's really they give me both opportunity, right? We are within the financial services industry, backed by the largest institution in the world, but we are still like this lean product that needs to make it, right, and prove it. And so I think that's the excitement. Like very, very few product, you have this excitement of like proving it. And so you have good days, you have bad days. The entrepreneur has the ability on bad days to see the positive of the bad day and then to move to live a better day, right, the next day. And I think that's a very unique mentality. But the biggest thing for me is the team. Is where was I gonna be able? And the answer is yes. So I cut to the chase. But was I gonna be able to build again an amazing team that's as resilient as I am, and that can really take this vision and make it a product that's successful, that can be sold to a merchant, to consumers, to the issuing side of the equation, to the enablers that we need in order to service the merchants, et cetera, et cetera. So I think like building a team is probably my biggest strength, which I love working with people and building teams. Coordinating different stakeholders also is needed in this endeavor, not just because early warning has different stakeholder and shareholders, but it's you have the shareholders of early warning, you have the financial ecosystem at large, you have the merchants, you have the enablers to get to the merchants, you have the enablers to get to the issuers, you have the different issuers. So you have a lot of participants in this ecosystem, and you need to really align all of them, right, towards that vision of making Pace successful. So all of these things is, I believe, what I bring to the equation, but mostly the credit goes to the team, right? I mean, as I said, like one person doesn't help. I'm here to unlock the potential of the team to make it successful. That's how I see myself.
And what was it in the opportunity at Pays that got you excited about the original opportunity?
Well, I think it's a unique moment in time where you can decide to disrupt the financial ecosystem in the United States. It's like you see this opportunity of being one of the top wallet contender in a
And you're disrupting them from
5 year.
within, not from without.
So you're like from within, you have the backing of the largest institution, you have the success of Zelle that could be replicated, you have the opportunity to work within early warning that has Zelle, that has like our original, fraud business that's doing very well as well. And the opportunity to just transform this industry as a whole together, not just, one company, but really together with the banks, together with the enablers, together with the merchant. I think that's very unique. I think you don't have a lot of places where you can do that. And I think that's really what attracted me to these opportunities, like once in a lifetime type of, opportunity where you jump on it and you say, okay, let's do it. And again, that's entrepreneurship spirit is like, what if it fails? And at the end of the day, nothing. You pick up, you iterate, and you continue, right? So it's not
The entrepreneurial ethos. Yeah.
not the same as, oh, I'm sorry, what's gonna happen to me if it fails? So I think like we're gonna be successful. I'm like confident about it, but it was this very unique opportunity that made it okay. Let's jump. Let's try it.
So the levers you talked about is there was some product completion that you had to do, I guess, to make the product listable. Um, and I guess there's a certain level of build out within the merchant network that where it has to be available in enough opportunities so that people can use it. Like, but are those things what happens then? I guess I was thinking about this before our interview. Is like, it's just a waiting game at that point, like until the behavior sort of takes on. Like,
Yeah, yes and no, right? So the thing is that we launched the product about a month before I arrived, right? So I arrived in October of 24. The product really launched in September of 24. Until you launch a product, everything is on walls, it's on whiteboards, it's
theoretical.
on PowerPoints, but it's not the real world, right? So every assumption you made may not be right or may be right, right? You have to tweak things and things like that. So for the first time, we had feedback from the merchant, feedback from the consumers. So we took a lot of that feedback, and that's what I was saying in 25. We build in the feedback and we're building new feature functionality that we saw were needed for the product to be successful, right? At the same time, as we were building the product, we go and we say, okay, with the Uniteds or with the Fanatics, as I told you, we won't habituate people because we don't have enough velocity of purchases. So we need to go more for the Domino's, for the quick serve type of category, for things that you use every day. Maybe one day we'll get to the Ubers and the Lyft of the world, the DoorDash, etc. We're not there yet, but like certainly those are the category that we want to get after, right? So then you have that ecosystem that you see or that you just said, that people see it more and more, and that you can now use Paze on a daily basis, type of thing. We also realized late 24, beginning of 25, that a merchant accepts payment of methods. That's not a question, right? But how they enable it, it's not always direct to merchant. There are other companies, and we've announced many deals with Fiserv, with Nuvei, with FIS, with Worldpay, right, etc., where you need those enablers for the merchant to be able to take in, right? ACI and others. And so at the end of the day, we needed to take and make these deals happen in order to get to the merchants. And then you also think, well, that's great to have like a Domino's. It's great to have a Pay Range. It's great to have a United. But what about like, you know, Joe sandwich shop that I want to order online, or like a small and medium businesses? That's very important for us. And there is millions of those in the US, right? And we can't not be there. So those platforms, the Fiserv and the Worldpay and the Nuvei, they help us enabling those small medium businesses as well. So we have like hundreds of thousands right now of small medium businesses that are enabled with Paze as well, as of like a few months ago. So you have like all of these things, as you said, that you need to lay on the map in a sense for you to then be able to take actions. So enablers, merchants, big merchants, small and medium merchants, then issuers, right? And that's the issuers give you the consumers. Once you have all of that, yes, it's a little bit of a waiting game, but of course you just don't wait and see, right? Then we are, launching marketing campaigns, working with the merchants, working with the issuers to see, okay, how do we incentivize? How do we make sure that people know what Paze is? So there's two level, right? The brand awareness. People need to know Paze is from your bank and credit union. And then the incentives. like you see on any traditional marketing or financial service marketing. If you use your card for such and such merchant, you get a few points more, you get a 5% discount, you get a credit statement, you get whatever you get, right? We need to also incentivize people to use Paze, right? So we're in the process of having all the pieces on the table to be ready to start this bigger marketing push.
It's interesting that you mentioned the habituation. I like to use that term a few times because I remember covering. I've been doing this long enough where I didn't have gray hair when I started, but tap to pay in the U.S. was obviously a laggard compared to Europe, and one of the things I guess the company that bought your old company, Visa and Mastercard, did was they targeted like commuting trains and subways and stuff like that, just because those are the types of things you're tapping all the time, and I think that did help to accelerate adoption from back in covering the space. Um, yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, so you're targeting these people who don't necessarily have a wallet. How do you see this playing out a long time? Like, will consumers have multiple wallets? If they're using Apple Pay, Google Pay, will they also have Pays in there next to it? They have five wallets. They're going to consolidate towards one. Like, how does that all play out? Because eventually, it's like obviously you're not going to have 100 wallets. That doesn't make sense.
No, so I think it's a good question as well, right? And I agree with you. They won't have 100 wallets, but it's completely viable to have a couple of wallets, right? If you
Sure.
think
Yeah.
about our everyday life today, right? You use Apple Pay, you use PayPal, you may use Bit in Israel. Like you have different ways of doing things with different solution that provides you a product market fit for the need at that time, right? You may have one that's a more of a default that you use more like offline. You have one that you use more online. So I think that's normal. So consumer having two or three wallet of choice, I think that's totally fair. What we want to make sure is that Paze is there for consumer that chooses to use Paze anytime they want to pay for something. So we start online. We hope that one day we can be offline, but it's certainly something where we're bringing this as the banks and the credit union bringing you a solution. And we want consumer to know that we are there for you whenever you need the banks or the credit union to have a payment solution for you, right? So that's the ultimate goal.
Do you, do you maybe you're doing it already, so excuse me for the question, but do you plan to do customer help merchants with customer acquisition as well, given the fact that you have this incredible resource of the network?
So I think that there is certainly one portion of the Paze value proposition where when banks say it's safe, it's secure to use Paze, obviously like a few new consumers that are starting to use Paze, then we'll check where they can use Paze, and maybe they haven't checked at or they haven't shopped at Sephora or at United or at Domino's yet, and they will do it because they see it on the Paze, merchant roster. But we strongly believe that we can bring new users to the online experience or the digital experience in a safe and secure way that before may not have trusted the
Yeah,
tool.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, in a way, the BNPL companies, the early days were very much servicing merchants and helping them get new customers. Yeah. So as you're looking out, you've been there 18 months. Like, what does 2026 look for you? What are some of your big top priorities and goals as you look out for
Yeah, 2026
this?
for us. Yeah, it's 2025, as I said, was working a lot on the product, the strategy for the go to market. Um, 2026 is really reaping some of the benefits of that product work and of that strategy on go to market. Eric Hoffman, Chief Partnership Officer of Early Warning, has really drawn the strategy and helped us a lot there. But we're like getting the merchants on board. So that's like a big one. So more place to shop, as you were mentioning earlier. We're getting more issuers on board. Citi is more issuers. So, we're at 160 million plus credentials at Paze. We'll cross the 200 million credential in 2026 and beyond that 200 million plus. And so we're really going to have like a lot of consumers ready to shop with Paze, and we're going to establish the brand as like a recognizable brand in the United States, as Paze, brought to you by your banks and credit union, as a trusted and safe way to shop online to start, or digitally to start. And so we're starting that flywheel of like, we get the merchants, we get the consumer, we get the brand awareness, we incentivize them to shop. And so that's 26, right? And then 27 is putting a multiplier on 26, because now people know Paze more than they did in 25 or 24, definitely. And then we accelerate that brand awareness, we accelerate the merchant reach, and we accelerate the usage of the product.
How about for you as a leader? What a personal, professional goal that you had this upcoming year?
For me, 2025 was very much, 24 was listening.
Mhm.
I got here, I had no clue. Let me listen to everybody, stakeholders, merchant, issuers, consumers, enablers, all the way through Q1 of 25. That was my role. Then the rest of 25 was like, okay, let's fix what's broken, or what we didn't do, or what we didn't listen, which was very important. 26 is very much focused on the execution. So now it's like, let's execute. This is not like, I believe in the strategy. The strategy is the right one. We're seeing some early wins with some of the new merchants that we've launched, right? So I strongly believe the strategy is the right one. Now it's like, let's focus on execution, and execution is scaling. So we start small, we're going to scale. We have, as you know, the backing of all of these financial institutions. So it's going to scale, and to scale is not the same as being small. So are the systems ready? Do you have customer service ready? Do you have every operation process ready? Right. So there is a lot of things in the execution that's like detail oriented. That's where I was back to like the team and building the right team. So I've brought new leaders. They're all like in place today, or most of them are in place today. They really focus on that. Let's get everything ready to scale. Let's really work on the execution. It's not about like, oh, specifically a brand new product feature or functionality, or let's pivot completely. No, we know where we're going. We know what we have to do. We have the enablers that support us. We have the issuers that support us. We'll continue to add issuers, but that's like business as usual. We'll continue to add merchant, business as usual. We'll continue a normal product roadmap, business as usual, right? But it's now, let's execute. Focus on the execution. And I think that's critical, that not only the leader, but everybody, in the team is focused on the execution. Comes from the top and it starts at the bottom, right? So it's a bottom up, top down type of approach, where we all have to really focus on execution, get the data, read the data, focus on it, understand what it means, then, respond to it with new product feature functionality, new ways of doing things. But the answer really is in the data and the execution.
Serge, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet podcast today.
Appreciate that. Thank you for having me, Zach.